People go to me like, are you not tired? I'm like, tired? I've waited for this for so long.
On today's show, Josh Baker, known for his infectious groove-driven sets, his sharp ear for curation, and of course his label, You&Me.
Moments in Music.
Welcome to Moments in Music, a podcast with Defected with myself, Monki, where we get to know the artists through the records that define them.
You're expected to be great. So if you're anything less than great, there's kind of a lot of things that can come with it if you mess up a performance.
Josh Baker carved out a global presence while keeping his roots grounded in Manchester's rich musical heritage.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the biggest DJ in the world.
Whether it's shutting down dance floors at Fabric or playing sunrise sets at Sunwaves, he's become one of the most exciting and consistent voices in house music today.
Some songs just don't need to be touched, and I'm never one to mess with a classic. I honestly believe the job I've done on this, I think it sounds sick.
Please welcome to the show, Josh Baker. All right, Josh, welcome to the podcast, and welcome to Defected.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's your first time down in the dungeon, isn't it?
Correct, I'm impressed. It's a nice setup, especially the decks over there.
Yeah, I know, yeah, we'll need to get you on those at some point. You've had a crazy start to summer. You've had a whirlwind few years. I guess, like, where to start? What does the last few years feel like for you? And we'll go into sort of before that as well, but let's talk about the last few years.
It feels like all of the hard work I did prior to like the last 12 months all just kind of reached some kind of melting point or inflection point, whatever you want to call it, and it just all came together. Like, people are trying to pinpoint kind of what one thing it was, but I think it was just a matter of like improving as an artist, documenting more of my journey, building my festival of Hide&Seek, You&Me, and everything just seems to have followed a similar trajectory, all the projects I work on. And yeah, it's felt crazy. It feels like I'm attached to a rocket ship at times. Like, it's like just going shh, and it won't slow down, which is great, but also kind of hard to navigate because each week something new comes up, or like even things like this. It's hard to feel comfortable at each stage and also like be present and enjoy it, but it's incredible. So I'm definitely not complaining. Yeah,
there's that saying that people say, it's like people blow up overnight, but actually you've been grinding.
I've said this before. It's the quote is like every overnight success takes 10 years.
Exactly. And you seem like a man of like many projects. Like, you like to have your fingers in lots of pies, lots of things going on. And like you said, it's all sort of imploded at one time. You can't really make a plan for that, can you?
No, I think to say about like what I like doing, I just enjoy building things.
Yeah.
I find it really fun, like starting at zero, whether it's with the festival or my project SYNTHO or You&Me, my label, and then other things I've started. Like, I really enjoy starting at zero, kind of making a plan, and then seeing things come to life. But yeah, you definitely can never predict what's going to happen next. Like, if I try to work backwards now and speak logically about how I got here, like I did not know this was going to happen. It goes this way, then that way, then this way, then that way. But as long as you stay focused and be patient, it will get to where you want it to be eventually.
Where did it start for you? What was like the beginning?
The very beginning was my friend having a controller when I was like 16. I'd always been into electronic music since I was like 12. My uncle was a big influence in that. Just kind of like UK garage, things like Scooter, like a super wide selection of stuff. And then, so when I had a pair of decks, I'd never really crossed my mind too much to have a go. I had another friend actually who works for SYNTHO called Brandon. He was collecting records, actual vinyl, when he was like 14. And I'd go to his, I'd never thought of myself as a guy who would DJ. He was spinning records. He had like a great taste. And there's a record we'll speak about afterwards that he introduced me to, the Photech one. My friend had a pair of controller and I was like, can I have a go? And he was like, it's too complicated this, like you won't know what to do. I was like, bro, just give me a go on the decks. And I had a go. And I sat there and I went to him, and I've quoted this before. I said, I'm going to be the biggest DJ in the world. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And he's like, what are you on about? And the next day, I said to my mum, I was like, I want to get a pair of decks. But it was the time I was 16 and like Hideout Festival was like the one. I remember it was like Jamie Jones was playing there and like those videos on YouTube, all this stuff. And I went to my friend's brother, right, mate, what are we doing? Hideout Festival or a pair of decks? I was only 16 at the time. So there was that concern of like, I think it's 18 plus, I assume it was. And my mate's brother, who DJ'd as well, like people started to get into it. And I think with anyone listening to this that DJs, you'll relate, like once one friend starts doing it, other friends start to get a bit curious, like, can I have a go? And I said, what should I do? Get a pair of decks or go to Hideout? And he was like, get some decks. So I bought some CDJ 800s, That was when it was CDs, like the old school way, and then got a Behringer mixer off a guy I met in Sankey's, and that was it. Got them, and then I got a pair of Technics at the same, like maybe like 6 months later, and that was it. I was just hooked. Every single day I would like DJ in my bedroom while I was at college, and then I quickly started making music as well on Logic, and then transitioned to Ableton. So it was literally like, it was pretty quick from getting them. I was never like I want to make this my job. It was obviously a dream, but it was just a pure hobby and passion, and like a pure love for the game, and just obsessed with finding music, sharing music. And then quite a few friends who lived near me all started DJing, and that was it really. It never felt like a thing where I looked and thought, oh, I want to do that one day. I just kind of felt this feeling of like, I love doing this. Let's see how it evolves. And just kept chipping away at it. And it's mad to think I literally chipped away at it for at least a decade without any frustration. It was just like, I enjoyed doing it, and I was confident in my ability to kind of keep the thing going forward. You know, you start picking up gigs and stuff. But yeah, that was the kind of introduction to DJing and producing.
Has your relationship sort of changed with it now? Now it is a job and you're on a rocket ship.
It does, because the main thing I found in the last year is there's now an expectation of wherever I play. Like, people now expect you to be the guy that creates this experience that they'll never forget, because they've saved up money to go there. They've, you know, spoke about it for weeks. And I do think the bigger you get, unfortunately, you're expected to be great. So if you're anything less than great, then you can face negative comments online, all this kind of stuff. But for 99% of the time, it's not that anyway. Like, it does go great. But there is that thing you're dealing with now of like, I need to try and live up to these expectations, which is a lot harder than, say, 2 years ago when you're playing support to someone. I was like, who's this guy? He was so good, all this kind of shit. And it was kind of a bit more of a free hit. Whereas now there's kind of a lot of things that can come with it if you did like mess up a performance. But in terms of relationship, it's so exciting and fun now. People go to me like, are you not tired? I'm like, tired? I've waited for this for so long. There's obviously the times when you wish you could sleep a bit longer, or, you know, you want to just, you know, the nap before the gig, it's a bit hard to get up. But I'm soaking up more than ever. I think there's times when you kind of get stuck in the motions and not taking what's going on, especially when you're nervous for things. I think when I first played Night Ibiza in DC10, I remember it just happened. Like, it happened to me like that, done. Whereas now I'm like really trying to take it all in. But the relationship does change. Like, digging for music's a thing you know you need to do. Whereas maybe a few years ago, it's almost like trawling through Discogs for hours, because it's like that real thing of like, can I try and find this next track that no one's got? But there wasn't a pressure to do so, whereas now there is a requirement to do so. But for me, it still very much feels like a privilege and a passion that I get to do this. And it's not a work yet. There are times it does feel like work, but like such a small percentage that it still feels very pure to me.
Yeah, and I guess where you're now playing that headline slot, you're still digging, but you're also expected to play the big records.
Yeah, it's
right?
a tough one to navigate. People, especially with my own tunes, I could play 5 of my biggest hits, and there's always one that I didn't play, and I'll still say, why didn't you play this? I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I gave you that one, this one, that one. But like,
you just have to come back.
Yeah, I know, next time. But you know, people, they come because they want to hear that certain record. But then I always come back to the entertainment education thing.
Yeah.
Like, especially say I'm playing at a certain place where the crowd might be younger, I want to give them the experience that I had when I saw certain DJs of showing me new music. But then also I know what it's like to go somewhere and you want to see your favorite DJ play his big record. So it's quite a hard one to navigate. And I think there's certain gigs where I will go more for the education side. And there's certain ones where it will be more of the, you know, play the bigger hits. Like say it's a festival which isn't as in a bigger city, so maybe a smaller town or things like that. You know, the crowd aren't going to they have not been exposed to as many DJs, so you probably need to play a bit more accessible to them. Mm-hmm. Whereas say you're playing Romania, for example, it's more of an underground culture. You can steer away from your usual stuff and go a bit deeper.
Let's talk about a big hit this summer. Back It Up. You're going to be playing a lot of that.
I have to play that every time still. I forgot to play it at Sonar, actually. I played back to back Enzo, but it was like Enzo, a few, back to back. I think the crowd kind of knew I'd play underground, a lot more underground than say more commercial stuff. I forgot to play it, but 95% of my sets, I'll play that one for sure. How's
it been watching that record grow on your new label?
It's crazy, you know, it's the Tuesday this week, it streamed the most it's had, and it's been out for 3 months nearly. So it's still going up, which my team around me, like I was really, really keen to release a record like 6 weeks after, and they were like, don't, like you're gonna kill the shelf life of that record. And last year my approach was more volume, and like I've seen firsthand and like advice to give to other producers, like one record going big, putting more attention on one record, more focus in making it right, will do more for your career than saying putting out 6. Don't want to use the word mediocre because that's not the kind of way to describe it. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's still going wild. Just got playlisted for Radio 1 daytime, which is a big thing for me. I've always listened to radio since I was really young, so that's like a really proud thing. But yeah, it's just keeps going bigger. So, you know, by the time people listen to this, it might have gone to another whole like level of listenership, whatever the word is.
And your new label, you know, launched. You obviously have labels, but you launched a new one. You have this like entrepreneurial spirit about yourself, which I think actually lots of DJs do, to be honest.
Yeah.
But what was the thinking behind this label in particular?
So it's called Baker's Dozen. This time last year, I was with my manager, Kurt. I've got like You&Me, which is my party, Hide&Seek, which is my festival. I wanted a project where I could do anything I wanted without kind of like having to run it by my team, without having to have a certain kind of aesthetic look online. And I said to my manager, I was like, Baker's Dozen would be a cool name for something. It sounds too obvious. He was like, no, I think it sounds cool. Like it's like, it's relevant. It applies to you. I was like, well, I said, right, okay, let's do it. So the next week, like I said earlier, like I really like building stuff. I kind of started to brainstorm this idea of this old school American diner kind of look, this red, a retro thing. And I got a logo made of this thing. I was like, that looks really, really sick. Why don't we start doing some kind of pop-up parties, vinyl only? Because I really love playing records still, but the way my career's progressed, playing big main stage festivals, things like that, unfortunately, playing records, it's just not an efficient way to tour the world, playing these certain gigs, whether I like it or not. So I kind of transitioned away from taking vinyl to almost gigs. So I was like, why don't we do some things where I can play records still, showcase that side of me as a DJ, because I know it does add some kind of edge to what like, I can do. So we got it branded. Anyway, I got this thing made, like a vest made. I was like, it looks cool, that. So I started wearing this vest with the Baker's Dozen logo. Then I was doing 2 gigs in Norwich. And I was like, why not do a run club and just call it Baker's Dozen's Run Club? So we did this. And then like a few weeks later, I ended up doing another run club in Manchester. And then we had the merch. I was like, well, it could kind of be this all-encompassing personal brand thing where it can be anything. Like it could be run club, some merch, pop-up parties. Then we ended up doing a pop-up party in Scotland in a like tiny bakery there. We did something in Miami in a laundrette. And then we wanted to make a singles label because in the last year, I've just been putting out more singles. Probably not too like aligned with the way I produce, because I do make a lot of deeper records. It's meant that I can't really release as much as I want, but I can see the upside in putting more attention on less music. Anyway, when I decided to make this label, I was like, why not just make the label called Baker's Dozen, and it can just be like anything I want. So like there's music, we could do run clubs to promote it, we could do vinyl pop-up parties to promote it. And this comes back to our first point. I couldn't have really worked backwards from this. I couldn't have said, if I'd said to someone, let's make a label and promote it with run clubs, vinyl pop-up parties, and vests with the logo on. I mean, it does sound quite good now in hindsight, but I think at the start, with no proof of concept, you'd have been like, that's so fucking random. Like, that's not like how you'd promote a label, you know? How you promote a label is do X, Y, and Z. So yeah, we started the label, working with 360 on it, who were helping with the A&R and just helping with the overall like promotion of it. And yeah, so the first record's gone crazy. I've now sat on loads of music, too much music, which is a good problem to have, because tomorrow, when people listen to this, it might be out. I've got my collab with Prosper, which comes on Circa Loco Records.
Yep.
That's the story of the label. Quite an unorthodox way to start the label, but like I'm really happy with the vibe of that project, and it's exciting.
It feels unorthodox, but it feels organic. It feels true to like you as an artist, as a person, and what you're into. I wanted to touch a little bit on the Run Club actually, and like, you know, you do a sort of touring like vlog. You're very vocal around like almost quite balanced around how you go touring. Obviously, like partying with mates, but equally, you know, you're running. And I feel like this version of touring has changed quite dramatically, sort of from when I started. I guess when I was getting into DJing, it was like the back end of like lads on tour, and the rock stars and throwing decks and crazy shit, which, you know, had its moment and was hilarious and wicked and fun. But it's changed quite a lot, and I've seen that with the sort of next wave of DJs as well. Why do you think it's changed, and why is that important to you?
There's so many things. I think the first thing's got to be, unfortunately, you can't get off your face like you used to because people video you.
Yeah.
Like simply put, that's one thing. So I think another thing is just around the world, people are just more health conscious now. Like they're aware of the negative effects of drinking all the time. Things like smartwatches, Whoops, Garmin's, things are more measured. Me personally, like my take on it is I've always trained. I never used to just document anything like that because I was under the impression of, which I don't think it's an incorrect impression, 10 years ago, posting yourself in the gym when you're DJing, people are like, who the fuck's this guy think he is? So I think there's an element of just in general, I started to post more about lifestyle stuff on social media, not like strategically, more just because I enjoy documenting things like with my YouTube stuff. And I started to notice it kind of resonated with more people, started sharing it more. And because I've always trained, I found myself that like I have to do it for my mental well-being. And then I started running like 2 years ago properly because my friend did a marathon. And I was like, this looks kind of fun. I want to go. So I did a half marathon, then a marathon this year. But ironically, I actually don't think doing that level of training and doing what I'm doing right now is actually healthy. I think potentially I've done too much. Like I've decided I need to actually wind it in a bit.
Yeah.
Because I do, despite what the online may look, I do kind of party a fair bit still. Like I still enjoy celebrating the moments, like me and my mates, we have our good times, but then trying to train like 5 times a week at the same time probably isn't the wisest move. But I do think you've got to have your routine, whether it's just like 10,000 steps a day, eating pretty clean, you know, that could be like what you do and things like that. But I think it's important to have some kind of structure outside of the gigs. Otherwise I think you would go insane. But in general, everyone seems to be more educated on health and fitness now and eating good and things like that. But I will admit, I do kind of miss the more rock star-ish thing. People seem to be surprised now when DJs are off their face, seems to be the favorite like thing on TikTok. But like people have a good time, you know. Nightlife culture has been built on partying in. So I think people should just be more open to the fact that you can go and have a good time and also go and run a 10K the next day. And there is a balance in between. Whereas maybe in the past it was very, very one-sided, wasn't it? And people just kind of abuse their body and abuse their position as well, like as an artist. But yeah. Yeah,
I definitely think it's a welcome change. I mean, there's no shade on, you know, if you like to party and don't like to run, but there's also now no shade on like if you do. You know there's way more balance, and that's nice to see. And it's also given people like yourself opportunity to promote brands in completely different ways.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. Like I like the fact that, you know, people hammer on social media about, they know they need to grow themselves as an artist. If you're constantly just posting videos of your Ableton screen, I know that's what some people like, that's all they do, make tunes. But I think it's also offered a fun way for people like myself, who I spend a lot of time making tunes, but I enjoy the fact that I can kind of market myself doing other things that I find interesting and not just always coming up with ideas to like, there's only so many ways you can talk about your latest track release, but being able to grow your social media through other things, then when your track comes out, there's more eyes on it. It's just a fun, for me, I actually enjoy the document the process of doing different things. I actually just find it fun.
Let's get into another record that you've chosen. I've noticed like quite a few of these records are from a similar-ish time, so it must be a moment in time that really inspired you, sort of like late 90s, early 2000s. The one I'm going to talk about right now is Battle Groove. Tell us about this. Okay,
so when I first got into DJing, I mentioned earlier, I had CDJ 800s and a pair of Technics. So my very good friend Brandon, who works with SYNTHO now, he was the kid who I mentioned was DJing since he was like 14 or 13. He's still, to this day, maybe the best producer I've ever met. Insane digger. And he was into like a bit more like drum and bassy kind of dubstep. I can't even think of artists from that time. But he was into this kind of like fusion between faster house, like Trevino, DVS1, big techno-y. Anyway, I got into starting collecting records, and I discovered Apollonia. So we're talking now like 2012, 2013. And Apollonia were like, back then they were big, but they weren't kind of like, they went on to become like these kind of almost underground superstars the years following. And it was this kind of like French house, deep house thing, which was really sick. And I remember went to see them somewhere. It might have been Sankey's in Manchester. But anyway, this record played Battle Groove by Politics Dancing. And I was like, I remember hearing, like, what the hell is that? And my friend Brandon was digging at the time. I started to show him some of this more stuff I was hearing, and he was really into it as well. And yeah, we found it on Juno, and it was like this, it's a sampled drum loop from a machine, like a Roland think it's like a rolling MC101 or some shit. We found the sample in the end, like a sampled bass line. But like that vibe of like, there's not many synths. It was like the bass line was just like so killer. And that really, really got me hooked on. Because at the time I wasn't really sure what I liked. I wasn't sure, do I like kind of this more Berlin? He was running to the Berlin kind of, what was it called? Oskaton, the label, I think it was, in Berlin, the Panorama Bar kind of vibes. He liked that. And I knew I liked it, but I was like, I think there's something else to me. But when I discovered this kind of Apollonia French, I don't know whether it was, I guess it's like tech house, but has a certain vibe to it, very bassline driven. Heard that record. I still play it every now and then now. I've got the record. And then I discovered that label, and it led me on to just finding a lot of cool stuff, like Italo Johnson, System 2 were from Manchester. They were making sick stuff at the time. Diego Kraus. So just loads of cool stuff in that era from Apollonia, which I thought was really, really sick.
You mentioned the Sankey's System 2, obviously Manchester's your hometown. Tell us about the impact that your city has had on you.
Yeah, so when I was 16, my friend gave me a fake ID for my birthday.
Great friend.
Great friend. So like, I don't think people do this now. I don't think. Like, back then, like, there was such a culture around club life, especially Manchester. Like, there was a thing with like, you'd dress a certain way. Even though it was like, you know, free and do what you want to do, there was like a certain style people would wear to the clubs, and it was really cool. Like, I felt like fashion and music was really interlinked at that time. I don't feel so much now it is in this kind of era in a lot of things.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
It's become more popular? Or?
I think now, I think house music's so popular, people are less, I don't want to use the word respectful, but less kind of intrigued in the whole thing. Back then I was fascinated by like, people wore certain, like at the time, people would like roll the sleeves up, they'd wear Air Max 1s, skinny jeans was in, there was like certain shops you'd go to in Manchester called Manic Matty and things like that. I was like kind of really curious. Like everyone had the same kind of, they were called cat cuts at the time. Like they have like, do you remember that? And people were like, they shaved their head like that. I was just intrigued. I never got a cat cut, but there was just like certain things which I found really interesting that like, how do these cultures build? And we were just kind of like looking up, you know, like I wouldn't use to say the word in awe, but I found it fascinating. There was like certain groups of people, you'd see them every weekend. It was a real cult thing then. People go Sankey's every weekend. But yeah, Sankey's itself was like, it was just impressive because you had the basement downstairs. I remember seeing Solomon there on like Boxing Day. I think he did 2 shows in a row. Maybe we can move on to that record next. It would be quite fitting. And there was this kind of, it was deep house around that time. This, when I first got exposed, well, Apollonia was kind of what I found next, but Solomon was huge. There was people like Miguel Campbell, like the Jamie Jones thing, the whole Hot Natured, Amin Edge was massive. But yeah, there was that club, you know, we'd go most weekends. It would stay open till like 7. There wasn't really a closing time. I think that whole thing of like, you don't know when the club's going to close. I didn't give a like, I had to get the train back, so I'm not leaving anytime soon. And I think this kind of thing, we'd stay, we'd crack on. There was that. There was Joshua Brooks, which was really cool. There's a place called Gorilla. There was South. Like South would stay open after the other clubs. You'd go there. Then of course, Warehouse Project, discovered so many artists there for the first time. And I think at the time there was just a really healthy, well, probably not healthy, but the nightlife ecosystem was healthy. There's a lot of options. There was big, there was small. People there were all super friendly. You'd see people all the time. And yeah, I think the city's definitely had a big impact on me. And then obviously Leeds is down the road as well. That had a massive impact on me as well with Mint Club, Mint Warehouse. And like them 2 cities seem to be, I think maybe it was the students from both places. There was quite a big crossover. And just around that time of raving was like, I don't use the word golden era because it's so cliche to look back and say that. And I think we actually are in a good era now when people look back at it. But
we always say that.
No matter what, say that. It doesn't matter.
No matter what generation you're from.
Exactly. But it was a great time to be a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old discovering house music for sure then, because it was still before phone. There was phones, but you weren't waking up the next day to videos all over TikTok of different people around the club who were off the face. It was very like still pretty private, quite niche and underground. It wasn't like as commercial as it is now. There's a massive upside to it now being as commercial as it is, but at the time it was still very kind of niche and subculture-y, and I'm glad I got to experience it. Yeah,
I always say that as well. I'm glad I was there when the crossover kind of happened, because you saw a different side to it.
Yeah.
So while it's amazing how massive dance music has become, it has become this whole other thing and reached a new stratosphere compared to like sort of back then, which it wasn't even that long ago. We're talking like 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's not even long ago.
It's huge. Parklife. I have to talk about Parklife, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Really disappointing for you, I can imagine, not being able to play that show. for things completely out of your control, health and safety reasons. So what happened on the day, and when can people expect you back there?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I turned up and like I'll openly say that I was kind of surprised that the stage set up because I know the Manchester crowd have got. So the stage wasn't that big, but like you never know how these things can pan out. But anyway, long story short, too many people were trying to get into the tent, and it was clearly a health and safety issue. Like as in, I could clearly see this could end badly. And I kind of made a passing joke to my friend that like, this could, like, what the hell's going on? Like people coming closer and closer. I went to put the stick in and people were cheering. It was like a football like cheer. I was like, this is going to be sick. And like, it was funny because I mentioned earlier as well about how there's been times when I've been DJing, I've not taken moments in. And I stood there and I like looked around. I was like, this is it. This is my time. Like I'd waited. I went to Parklife when I was 16 for the first time. And I remember vividly like going, imagine playing the peak time slot at Parklife. Last year I played 2 p.m. and then people couldn't get in then. So I was like, this is it. This is my time. It's my city. I'm going to smash this to smithereens. Like I prepared a lot. And they just said, you can't start yet because it's gone crazy. And they'd already kind of warned me we might have to do a stop. And in the end, it wasn't safe to carry on. So they decided, let's stop. In hindsight, thank God I did not play. Yeah. That was the right thing to do. Everyone involved agrees. Like, I think for everyone, we should draw a line in the sand and just accept that it was the right thing. No one got hurt. It's done. But yeah, incredibly disappointed. I've seen some funny things online, like conspiracies that I didn't want to play anyway. I was there. Someone said, because I had to fly to Ibiza after it. So I was at the airport within in the end, we just said, let's go to the airport now. What's the point of waiting around with 20 minutes to go of my set? So we're at the airport within like half an hour. So I get why some of the TikToks are kind of funny, gotta say. I've had some pretty nasty messages actually.
Oh yeah.
But like, I don't want to throw any more fuel on the fire by like trying to, because you know what they'll do, screenshot this story I've sent to them and then send this to someone else and someone else will twist it, blah, blah, blah. It's as simple as it wasn't safe to play. Someone said he couldn't be bothered because he had a plane waiting for him. And I'm like, what in what world would I fly back to my city, put the stick in and then go? But anyway, yeah, it was disappointing. But what we're going to do next, I'm not too sure because I have Hide&Seek Festival, which is my own festival. So I'm doing that up north. I'm doing Bass Fest up north, which is in July. Doing Creamfields, which is up north. And I've got my Warehouse Project show from You&Me, which is September. So unfortunately, I do not believe doing a party for even say 3,500 people at a big Manchester venue solves much when 20,000 people try to come see me. So I think as it stands now, the solution is going to be, I'm going to put something out, like again on my story to clarify, guys. I wanted to play. If anyone's upset, it's me.
Just to clarify, everyone.
Yeah,
you wanted to play.
Yeah. I wanted to play. I was gutted. Like I really almost had tears in my eyes driving to the airport. I was like,
of course,
because I didn't realize. Fortunately, there's been kind of some upside in the fact that like it's a compliment that many people want to see you play. Yeah. So, and no one got hurt. So like it's not like there's that's the only positive we can draw from the thing. But yeah, I think that it'll be people have to come see me play there. It's not really an option to put on a replacement show because that will piss off more people, in my opinion. That's the kind of take I have on this situation. Because there's been different ideas suggested, but I just don't see that as a viable option to then just piss off another 10,000 people who didn't get a ticket.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really see the point in that. But yeah, there's options to do gigs in come see me play up north. I'm sure I'll be back next year on a bigger stage.
Exactly.
But Parklife dealt with it well in the end as well. Like it is what it is. Yeah. Things like this happen. And yeah, that's the Parklife fiasco done. But yeah, it's been an interesting few days.
Yeah, I imagine. And like probably the first time you've ever experienced anything like that. But next year, bigger stage, hopefully.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that Solomon record that you sort of previously just mentioned. His remix of Noir and Haze. That was released in 2011. What kind of impact did that have on you? I think that was right around the time when I was really getting hooked on this thing. And the vocal, the synths, just the groove, the whole thing. It's just a recipe for a great record. And it still sounds incredible today. I think like you hear the odd edit every now and then, an odd remix. It just seems to sound better and better. I just think that era of music, because it's a song, right? Like I think some of the other tunes around that period, some would just sound a bit basic, but that tune is just incredible. I mean, Solomon put out some insane stuff around then, and the fact he is still, because he was the top of the game then,
what was that, 14, 15 years ago? And he's still top of the game now. When you think about that, it's impressive. I think, it definitely potentially paved the way for that like beginning of this new thing of like start, because he's like a superstar, as you know. But yeah, not too much more to say on that. Just what a tune. And I mean, everyone just rinsed it. It was kind of a soundtrack for that era. And I'm sure it got a lot of other people into that sphere of electronic music. And
you've got another release coming out through Defected, a remix of the Martinez Brothers. How did that come about? Welcome to the label. What are you looking forward to most when that tune comes out?
Oh, I'm buzzing for that one. That's another one from a similar period that you know, anyone that's been in a similar kind of time frame to me in this space will appreciate that record. It is iconic. It's not kind of iconic. It's very iconic. Martinez Bros, huge inspirations. They put out so much cool stuff. So when it came through, like my manager sent it, he loves that tune as well. He was like, I'm assuming it's a yes. And I'm like, for sure it's a yes. But then it's one of these things that I found this every time with remixes. I've not done many either. You say yes, get the stems, and you don't start it.
You're right.
You just don't start it. You're like, I'll do it next week. Yeah. And I'm like, you're excited by it. I'll start next week. Anyway, got to like the day before, I've got the remix. I was like, fuck, I've not started it. I was like, oh my God, I've not started this remix. Can't pass this opportunity. So what I did was as time's gone on, I've changed how I work. I used to be very militant in life in general, actually. I used to be such a routine guy. Things weren't right. The day was fucked and all this kind of stuff. Now I try and be more like, go with the flow, you know, don't be so structured. And it's definitely helped my overall well-being and enjoyment of life. And especially making music, I just start things on my laptop with a little speaker, sometimes with no speaker, and just make ideas, because I think like taking the pressure away for myself where I am now has helped me become more creative. Whereas for a long time, I was like, unless you're doing X amount of hours in the studio per day locked in, then it's not going to be good.
I've noticed that you had like a little JLB speaker.
Yeah, with Clooney the other day, we made a hit in like an hour. And like Chris does it, Clooney does it, Prosper do it. I think it's I think it's just a fun way to do it. Like you don't need this massive studio setup to make something good. But I did like a little sketch on my laptop, and then I took it into the studio, and then I'd start a project in like a SYNTHO tutorial, which is my education platform, the week before, and I had some cool elements there. And I dragged this loop in, and then what I did was literally the deadline was that afternoon at 12, or I had to get a flight at 1, something like that. And I had like 3 hours, and I just turned my phone off completely. And because I use some external synths and stuff like that, I've got a few different synths that I'll use, and I just smashed it out. And I did it in 3 hours, and I think it sounds sick. Like it's funny because I put some bits on my TikTok, and I'm never one to mess with a classic. Like I don't really think it's one, like some songs just don't need to be touched, but I honestly believe the job I've done on this, it just adds a new bit. It's a bit harder. Like it's a 909 kick. The bass line's pretty wonky. It sounds like the old Josh Baker stuff that people sometimes like to refer to. And just smashed it out, played it in a club in America actually, which, you know, the bros are from America, and it sounded like really cool. So I'm proud of the remix come together, because it's a hard one it's a tune which really you think, what can I do to this? And my approach was, I built some beats myself that like with my style, bass line, then I just resampled some elements and just kind of like did some different melodies, and I used some of the original stuff. And you can tell it's a remix, but it sounds more dance floor, a bit more hard.
It must be hard touching like something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm coming back to with the like headline thing. I feel like the only way is to be told the original was better. Like, well, give it a go, guys. Come on. I think I gave it a go. Because some people start going on TikTok like, leave this alone, the original's better and all that stuff. I'm like, well, the original's one of the best house tunes from the modern era. Like, give me a fucking break, will ya? Like, the original is still like, it's got its own magic. But I think I did a pretty good job. And I'm excited to see what happens when it comes out, because no one really knows yet there's an official remix coming. Someone thinks it's an edit and all this kind of stuff. Like, I think when people see Josh Baker Defected remix, I think it's a nice time for you to do this. Like, I've got a huge admiration for the label. I've collected the records forever. I think it's such a cool brand. So to this like combination, the Martinez Bros track, my remix, Defected, I think it's just a nice thing to come together.
It's like a perfect collaboration.
It's perfect, strong, but I think perfect will go with that.
Good lineup. Let's talk about Ibiza this year. How's that looking for you? And what is your relationship to the island?
We fucking love it. Like me and my guys, we made You&Me amongst the first like summer we spent together in Ibiza. It was like, what we're gonna do? I want to DJ more. Let's start something. Kurt, my manager, he'll come to every single show there. Like, it's the time we're going to celebrate. I've just got a lot of love for the island. I'm living there this summer. And there's certain things people say to me. Like, for example, my manager told me, he's from the Northeast. He said, when you go over the bridge in Newcastle, you feel a certain thing. So like every time I go over, like, told him this years ago, I always think about like that thing. And he also said, like, Ibiza smells like different, like something smell, you can smell it in the air when you land. So every time I land, like, I've got a thing where I'm like, I can just smell the Balearic air or whatever. So like for me, it's a feeling when I'm there. Has it lost its magic? Probably, if you really wanted to like go that deep on it. But you could say that about everything. And I think if you use that view for life, your life's gonna be pretty miserable. There's magic to be found everywhere. So for me, I love it. The reason I'm living there is because like I always wanted to do it. I'm playing a lot of shows this summer. Maybe slightly too many for like what I want to do next year. But it was important for me for this year, with a lot of opportunities arising, to try and spread myself quite wide. I'm not one for overplaying, but this summer it was important for me to spread myself wide. I've done like DC10, Circle Oak already, played with Blondish at Pasha, played High Opening. What did I do on Sunday? I played Universe on Sunday before another. I played Backstop with Jamie Jones and Rossi next week. I'm basically doing all the things I've dreamt.
Experience everything at
everything
one time.
in one summer.
Yeah.
So like satisfy every itch possible. And then next year I would probably say, I don't want to kind of put too many things into the open, but probably will be more selective next year, maybe more You&Me parties. And the dream will be to do a residency there. If that's next year, I don't know. Maybe we can clip this if I end up doing it, guys. But I'm open to doing things when the time's right. There's no rush.
Yeah.
Because I think Ibiza, it's, for me anyway, it sounds like the kind of the pinnacle. Conquer Ibiza and the rest is like, that's it. Because I think if you conquer Ibiza, the rest then just falls into place. Because if you're smashing it there, it's probably it is the global destination for everyone worldwide for house music in the summer. But I'll be patient with it. I love the island. Yes, it's changed. Change happens everywhere. I think embrace it or be miserable, basically.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a shame. Like, it's expensive as hell now. I think that's the main thing, which I think is annoying. Because even when I went, it wasn't even anything close to what it is now. But these aren't things I believe I can really change, unfortunately. So I just have to try and enjoy. Well, I do enjoy what I can. But yeah, I think it's a magical place. And yeah.
What was your first experience of Ibiza?
When we were 18, we stayed at Jet Apartments. Proper British lads holiday. Me and my three mates. I think we blew the budget in the first 3 nights. It was stories I can't share on this podcast, unfortunately. things that 18-year-old lads would do in Ibiza, simply put, on the first kind of lads holiday. We skipped Zante, we skipped Malia. I knew, I was like, I want to go and hear the tunes. Yeah. I think at that time, being 18 in Ibiza was actually too young. You know, like, you kind of just like stood around like that. We went to Paradise, which was at DC10. We saw Marco at Amnesia. We went to Space. Like, we had a great first trip, but
strong.
It was strong. Then the year after, I went and did a month there with my friends that I now do You&Me and Hide&Seek with. That's kind of how this whole thing started. So without the island, I wouldn't be here really. So it's a great place. But yeah, my first few experiences were all kind of similar. You just don't really know what you're doing. You get far too intoxicated. But like, I wouldn't change their memories for anything.
I remember the first time I went to Ibiza, I was actually playing, but it was like a small place in San An. And I came back and I was like, not sure I already get it yet.
Yeah.
And then the second time I went with like a crew, which is like a completely different experience. And I remember watching, I think it was like Sasha at Privilege and like P-Tong or something. And it was like club closed. It was like 8 a.m. and we found a beach and there was this cliff and we were about to jump into the sea and like the sun was up. And I turned to my mate and I was like, you remember that Ibiza moment I've never had? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I think I'm about to have it. And then I just like threw myself into the sea. And it's like those, I don't know, very whimsical like moments with your mates that like,
They make it,
yeah. And
what are your thoughts now on Ibiza? Did you enjoy going still?
I still enjoy going. Like you said, it's definitely changed I've been over for 12 years and it's definitely changed over that time. But everything's changed. Everything's become so enormous and I guess, for lack of a better word, more commercial. But it doesn't mean that those magic moments don't happen, and it doesn't mean there aren't parties that still like serve a purpose and serve you. I think there's still something for everyone. It's just different.
Yeah, I think things go in cycles as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think the thing now clearly is big scale events.
Yeah.
All this kind of, over the top, big production. But these are filtering so many people into this industry. I would like to think people discover artists like me now, whether I like it or not, then this can then downstream to more underground artists, and it creates a better ecosystem. And I actually see a lot of people who are in the more underground world, some young kids, and they don't actually understand how the thing works. Like, there needs to be a funnel at the top to get more people into electronic music. And at the moment, there's definitely a lot of people coming into this top of it with these big things. And I do believe that we will see, the more underground, smaller, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of the next layer down, will thrive again. I think right now there's definitely a tough time for smaller things, but things go in cycles always.
I do feel like this as well. There's almost, when something becomes so big, there's always like a resistance, like a revolution.
For sure, there's always
thing.
the anti of everything. Yeah. There's the there's always an anti eventually. Just being patient and just again, it's kind of is what it is kind of thing. That you just have to ride the wave and just be patient and see what happens next.
And talking about what's next, what is next for you? Where do you go from here, Josh?
You know what? Just try and not look too far ahead.
Yeah.
I was definitely guilty for a long, long time. Always the next thing, the hedonic treadmill of like, I'll be happy when. And believe it or not, when next never actually comes, because you just get to that thing and you realize, okay, this wasn't actually as good as I thought it was going to be. So I'm a big believer and like trying now. I'm probably not the best at it, but just traveling, enjoying myself, just having fun, and not being too like, what's next all the time. We've had these conversations because we've done some pretty epic shit with like, we sold out Hide&Seek Festival. We've, done the biggest You&Me event. We just sold out Barcelona, and like, unfortunately, the wins don't get bigger. Like the dopamine hit from bigger sellouts don't get bigger. They actually probably diminish they do diminish over time. Like these kind of things diminish. So it's trying to be more grateful and just enjoy the moment and be present. Well, things like bucket list things. I mean, I announced Time Warp yesterday, which is like kind of crazy. Doing Glastonbury next week. America's a big focus for me. Like I really want to try and crack America. I think it's just an exciting thing. And a big focus of me has been putting back on making tunes.
Yeah.
Spotify streams, a pretty cool, good way to measure, like, is my music resonating with more people? And that graph is going like this. So when I'm saying maybe the dopamine hit from selling events out does diminish over time, the streams I'm getting is kind of going like this. I find it's like, I always try and gamify things in a healthy way, not like a toxic way, but I think it's fun. It's like, what will this do to that? It's like, what will put this record out with Prosper do to my monthly listeners, things like that. So I'm making music. I think next year, I don't know if an album even is a thing for the space I'm in, but that seems like an obvious thing to do. Do I think albums have really made that much of an impact on people in my space? I don't really, I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know if it would be the right thing. I don't know if I'm ready for it either.
It's quite a big uptake.
Yeah, I just don't think I don't know if it's is the juice worth the squeeze? I don't know if it is right now for me. I would like to work with more artists in a crossover way, singers, rappers. I started at the start of this year after just kind of widening my team and that kind of thing.
Who would be the sort of standout person?
I don't know, someone like Central C would be cool. Just someone from a different world, like Charlie XCX.
She's at Glastonbury next week, so.
Yeah, I don't know, I think and I find what else also interesting is just entering other worlds, like Declan Rice is like WhatsApping me like, when you're playing here, like I was at,
the footballers love ideas.
Yeah, they love it. Yeah,
they love it.
I was at a footballers villa like 2 weeks ago playing, and it was like, we don't want any phones out, just like chill.
Yeah.
Then there's some footballers like, can we get a selfie? And I'm like, sure, bro. Like, that kind of stuff's funny because I wouldn't ever dream of like, in your head you see them play footy and you think like, why would they care about me? I'm just like some guy that plays tunes. So I find that kind of stuff pretty funny when it's people that like Luke the Nuke, the darts player, like the darts sensation followed me. That was kind of funny. So kind of that stuff's good. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what's next. I'm covering Pete Tong's show on Radio 1.
Sick.
In a few weeks. That's kind of cool. I don't think presenting radio thing is what I want to go into. I actually really enjoyed like conversations like this. I think it brings out a side of my brain which needs to be brought out to kind of stay on the ball.
Yeah.
But I don't think like it's right now it's something I'd want to like do all the time. But yeah, I don't know, release more good tunes, just enjoy myself and see what happens. And I think where I'm at now with the work I put in, just enjoying myself and staying alive, staying healthy and staying enjoying it is what's going to get me to whatever the next level is. I don't think it is now. I don't think the right thing now is to try and lock in and, and be like super militant with things. I don't think that's what would get me there. I think now that would actually drive me insane, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to see what happens next. I obviously know lots about you from sort of like social media and your tunes and, you know, your presence online, but I didn't know your story like super well. So it's been really lovely sort of digging into that a bit and talking to you, and it's like really refreshing to hear. So thank you for coming on the podcast. Look forward to the remix. Look forward to the new Radio 1 cover and everything else that you have in the bank, which is a lot. And maybe that Charlie XCX collaboration. We'll put that into the ether, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun.
Cheers, buddy.